Rayman 2 might finally be getting yet another re-release coming to Nintendo Switch Online because Nintendo themselves may have accidentally leaked it. Come with me and I will explain what happened. So, as a lot of people know, Nintendo's latest two consoles, the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch 2, have the NSO service. It's like Xbox Live and PSN, but Nintendo's version. And with that, you can get access to NES games, SNES games, GBA games, Sega Genesis games, and Nintendo 64 games, as well as a couple of GameCube games. So we're not going to talk about them because it's just Wind Waker. I mean, a couple of other things, but really, you're there for Wind Waker. Anyway, these services constantly have new games being added to them. For example, the N64 service started with fewer games than it has now, because that's how consistently adding things to things works. But people have been very clever and noticed some blurred out covers of some N64 games that are currently not on the service, but are seen blurred out in the background of a Nintendo video in the menu of this N64 app, which begs a lot of questions, namely, what are these games and why am I so sure it's Rayman 2? Well, I have an answer to those questions, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video, would I? Thanks to J2XP_on_Reddit on Reddit for sharing this, but basically there are 5 games so far that have been, beyond reasonable doubt, correctly deduced based on the blurry background front covers of said games, if that makes sense. They're flashing up on the screen right now. While it might just look like there are a bunch of mixed up colours in the background, which is an easy enough assumption to make, you know, you need a background for just a menu or a video, mix up some colours in Photoshop, slap it on a background, looks a bit more interesting than just grey. Nintendo are very good with making good looking, non-boring visuals. I mean, obviously, you know, they went 8 years without giving any extra themes to the Switch, and I'm pretty sure they're going to go another 8 years without giving any themes to the Switch too. But their videos, very pretty, very colourful. So it's reasonable to assume that maybe this is just some faked, some created background. But people have been very, very meticulous because, you know, Nintendo fans, gaming fans in general, are going to do that. In this post shared by J2XP_on_Reddit on Reddit, they share basically a mock-up of 5 of these covers that have been blurred out. And you can see the similarities between their blurred out version and the official blurred background in the Nintendo thing, and it becomes abundantly clear that these are in fact game covers and not just some faked, made up background. Again, these are flashing up on the screen right now, you'll get a good chance to look at them, and I will link this Reddit post in the description down below. I'm sure there are other people that have been doing mock-ups and have been finding out. This is just the post I've seen. I'm sure there are others. If this is not the first one to do it, I apologise, this is just where I got it from. I will cite my sources. Feel free to correct me in the comments. Point is, if you look at these 5 games and you look at the original background in the Nintendo video, it is clear to see they match up perfectly, and these games are basically coming to Nintendo Switch Online on the N64 service. I don't actually know how to call it the N64 game on the Switch. We'll go with that, whatever. Anyway, these games are Glover, Forsaken 64, Donkey Kong 64, Super Smash Bros., the original, and of course Rayman 2, among some other games that have not been deduced yet. So, you know, these heavy rumours of there being a Nintendo Direct, potentially in 3 days, potentially tomorrow, potentially in 2 days, this week, which is the latest rumour going around, could come with an update to this service and potentially confirm some of these games are coming. Obviously, Rayman 2 was an enormous game of the N64 and the PS1 and the Dreamcast and the it was an enormous game. But this game was huge for the N64, and I honestly did think, given that Ubisoft and Nintendo have pretty good public relations? Given that Nintendo and Ubisoft have pretty good interpersonal they work together. I mean, Christ, Ubisoft used Mario and Luigi and Peach and all of them in Mario and Rabbids. If that's not the sign of, like, good relationship, then I don't know what is. Point is, I thought Rayman 2 would be a launch title for this N64 service when it launched however many years ago, and it still hasn't come, except now it clearly has, because, I'm sorry, you look at those pictures, that is clearly Rayman 2 that's blurry there. That big yellow blob with the slight thin yellow above it, the slightly, like, bluish background colour around it, that is the cover for Rayman 2 on the N64. It's an all-time classic. I know on this channel I'm always saying Rayman is amazing, but there is actually just no denying that Rayman 1 and 2 were just huge back in the day. PS1's best-selling game, in the UK at least, was Rayman 1. And Rayman 2 must have been top 10, top 20 best-selling games on N64, I would imagine. So it's a big game. Makes sense that it's finally coming. So yeah, it's been ported to hell and back, Rayman 2, but to be honest, it hasn't been ported in a very long time, and playing it on modern hardware is actually pretty difficult now. And while I think there's a very good chance they are remaking Rayman 2 as part of their remake that was leaked a little while ago that could still be a couple of years down the line, it makes a lot of sense to make one of their best games ever, universally agreed upon to be one of the best games ever, available on, I assume, both the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. I mean, it's going to be on the Switch 2, of course, but you can play N64 games on the Switch 1, so I assume that will be included. Of course, this could mean Rayman 3 on the GameCube service on NSO. I think it's unlikely because, I'm going to say it, I'm pretty sure Rayman 3 Remastered definitely still exists, and I'm pretty sure it's coming. Really, really hope I'm right about this because I'm going to look like a twat if I'm not. So my point is, clearly someone had to sign something to get Rayman 2 on the Switch. So clearly Ubisoft know Rayman is something worth investing time in, and we know they're exploring the brand. I think it's very possible that this is a sign that maybe Rayman might show up a bit more in the future. Either way, you can play Rayman 2 on your Switch on the go, and it's not the stupid DS version. I mean, to an extent it is, because the DS version is based on the N64 version, and this is the N64 version, arguably the worst of the original 3 versions, but let's not worry about that. The point is, this thing, I don't know where the Switch is. Actually, that is a concern. The other things to note are Glover. Sure, I'm pretty sure that's just had a re-release, so yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a weird thing. I think they'd probably want to drive sales of the re-release rather than putting it on here, but whatever. They can do what they want. I don't know anything about Forsaken 64, so I'm going to ignore that one for now. The other two that really excite me, though, the original Smash Brothers. That's really cool. Is that going to have online capabilities? Are we going to be able to play Smash, the original Smash, online? Because that's quite cool. And I'm not even a Smash fan, which is why that's pretty much all I've got to say on that topic. I think it's cool and I want to try it. What's really cool here, the real kicker of this, is Donkey Kong 64, DK64, Rare's second best Banjo-Kazooie game, because it's Banjo-Kazooie 2, or it's the original. I can't really remember the timeline of things. The point is, it's better than Tooie, not as good as Kazooie. It's really cool. But who knows, this could all just be a load of bollocks. These could have just been random colourful shapes. But if you take a look at the pictures again, I'll flash them up on the screen. Come on, these are clearly the front covers of the games that this post suggests. So I think probably if this Direct is happening this week, expect Rayman 2 to be playable on the Switch 2 sometime in July. And if that is true, then I am one very happy man. And I'm sure a lot of other people will be too. And if you haven't had the chance to play Rayman 2 before, or you've been watching my videos, you've been thinking, this guy loves Rayman 2, he talks about Rayman 2 all the time, he makes it sound really good, I should try it. Hold off a few days, just in case this is real. Play it on a Switch, because that's probably one of the best ways you're going to be able to experience it, at least on modern hardware. PC port these days is hard to get running, because it's a very, very old game, and unless you've got a Dreamcast, all the other versions are... they run. Not going to say well, but they run. Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. This was a very last minute video when I got sent this news by SoundsGoodGaming, so thank you for that. You've just given me a video to make. Namaste. Let me know what you think. Do you think this is all a load of bollocks, or do you think it's true? Do you think these are just random colours in the background that happen to line up with a bunch of actually very sensible N64 games to add to the service? Who knows? When do you think it's going to happen? Let me know in the comments. And as always, until the next video, stay limitless, stay awesome, help me find my Switch, and I will see you in the next one.